I started collecting antiques when I was 19. Just had a passion. It started as a hobby. I wanted to get my kids each one of a nice piece. But then I went on to, my great-grandfather passed. That lived with my great-grandmother, Big Mama, Miss Dawson, Katie Dawson. And I promised him I would come visit him. So I had a sale, a garage sale, and saved up to go on the trip. And after saving, and I had this huge sale, and I thought, my goodness, if I can make this kind of money, if I can do it and enjoy it, one day I'm going to own my own business. So I had this passion, and I knew one day I would have an antique shop. So after having that sale, I couldn't believe the money that I made, and I realized I can do this, and I did. I'm Stanley Ray Stevenson, and I own Big Mama's Antiques and Restoration in Austin, Louisiana. Big Mama was my great-grandmother, Katie B. Dawson. The B stands for Bailey. She raised me. This was my grandmother. I was just excited to name my shop after my great-grandmother because she meant so much to me. I started my business. I had nowhere to start it, so I felt like I'm going home. And I started it at my great-grandmother's house in the country where I was raised. It was just very exciting. I collect Afro-American history, and I get it from various places. One thing I will say is that when I started to collect it, I only bought from Afro-American estates, okay? Because I figured that would be where the history would be. I used to buy trunks. I would throw the papers away. But I realized I was throwing the most important things away because the history was within the trunks. I could find it in books. If there's an educator, teacher, there's a clergy, a pastor, if they pass this away, because they were back then when the struggle was going on, I like to buy from those estates. So there again, there is no certain place to go. I think it's a calling of God. He puts me where I need to be. He puts the people in my view. And because what I'm saving is very, very rare. It is impossible to just go and find those type of pieces. In my collecting of antiques, and especially the Afro-American history, every now and then I will find something that totally takes me down, and I have to recoup. I have to gather my strength to continue. This is one piece. It's an Idlewell dispatch from the 1920s. It says here, colored babies used as alligator bait in Florida. And vigilantes order Negroes out. This is important. I mean, this was actually what went on. This tells all about it. It's very fragile. Going to have it matted and framed so others can see it when they come into the shop. It'll be matted and framed because this piece is not for sale. But the world needs to see that. And so this is a Georgia journal from the 1800s, the late 1800s. Actually 1826, Georgia journal. Picked this from an old barn, so I turned it over because most time people of color would be in the last pages and all that. So I was reading and I got my magnifying glass out and I was looking and I was trying to figure out what I could find about, what was going on back in the 1800s with Afro-Americans. Kept looking. So then I began to read and I thought, dang, I can't believe that. And here, right here, it says, one Negro man, so on the first Tuesday in June next, will be sold at the courthouse door in Madison, Morgan County, between the usual hours of sale, the following property, to wit. Then it names one Negro man by the name of Ben, 24 years old, levied on the property of Benjamin A. Fox. Really got next to me. It went on to just sold people. It was a slave sale right there in Georgia. come to my shop, you'll see more historical items. Books, photographs of schools, photographs of universities, pictures of various people, opposed to a mammy or a darky. Not that I don't have those, but derogatory items were to degrade Afro-Americans. So really I feel that those items should not be sold. You never hear of this one person that was a professor that started out as a school teacher, went on to do great things, like Mr. Riley Player that was a school teacher, have things of him. You never see that. And so those are the things that I collect, because that's a positive part of our history. That's a struggle. And we as a people now are standing on his shoulders. He paved the way. Or to see a colored funeral home, because we all had businesses. We all had our own separate, we had our separate churches, we had a separate, everything was separate. But you don't see that, but you do see tons of mammies, and they call it Black Americana, and I think that's degrading. And so that can be touchy with a person coming into your shop. A person of color opposed to a person of white, both sides. A person of color comes into my shop and see that with their children, they feel bad. A white person comes in and says, oh, I remember we had a help, and they want to buy that because it's cute. It's not cute. This is a very significant piece because it was taken during a time when Afro-Americans could not just stay in any motel or any hotel in any city. There were certain places they could go and certain places they could stay because of segregation. And if you notice on the photograph, they're very elegantly dressed, dignitaries, and they have opened up a motel there in Wichita Falls, and it was exclusively for people of color. And so that was a big deal for people that were traveling, that they had a hotel for them that could feel safe. They didn't have to worry about being harmed. So if they were traveling, had air conditioning, had swimming pools. So in the midst of a very hard time during segregation there in Wichita Falls, that was exclusive Ambassador Motel for it per se. They used the word Negroes, but that was a place for people of color that they could feel safe. That was very nice, that even had air conditioning and had swimming pools. So it's to say that people of color didn't have anything would be not true, because here some businessmen have opened up a wonderful motel for people. Because that's why I love that picture. Saturdays is for my customers. That's the day for my customers. And I owe that to them. You don't need to come out to my shop and I'm closed. On Saturdays, that's the day that if you want to see me or you want to see my shop, I have dedicated that to you, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there at 9 to 5. I think that it would be wonderful for college students, for school children, to have exhibits to come out and view the many, many artifacts that I have collected, especially about schools and universities, because it would be wonderful for them to know that the school that they're now going to was once started for Afro-Americans, and they have no idea. Many of them don't have any idea. The goal for my antique shop is that people will enjoy the experience, not so much come and just buying antiques, that they will leave Big Mama's Antiques with the joy of knowing they came, they had a great visit, they will come again, that it's a nice place to come. I'm not so much on people just buying. I do want them to buy, but I want them to have a great experience. I would say to anybody, not only people of color, but to all people, that history is very important. And just to sell a piece of history for the money, you're really not helping to solve the struggle. So I would say because of the struggle of any race, not only just Afro-Americans, history is important and it should be preserved. And I would think that people that have these pieces, their family members, they should preserve them. They should teach their children. This is how it was. This is very important. Boys playing by themselves. I was going to put in the screen door. And then this is us together. I like together. I like the fact that at some point we really need to be together.
That would be nice.
That would,
That would be nice.
that would be nice. Genuinely together.